2 times. So no lunch today. So I was like, I'm out here in the sun, getting some fresh air, stepping out of the office for a minute, come out and talk about some boxing. Um, I'll be honest, I'm so kind of like almost totally out of boxing, away, you moving away from talking about boxing and discussing boxing. I keep repeating it. I just don't have anybody nearby. Like I don't interact with anybody on a weekly basis who I could talk boxing with in person. If I had that outlet, I wouldn't even bother talking about this shit no more. Uh, Personally, man, I just don't like bullshit in my life, and just trying to be involved with boxing and to discuss it and to talk about the beauty of the sport and the good aspects of the sport. You gotta talk to idiots. You gotta interact with a lot of idiots and a lot of hateful people, a lot of ignorant people, and I just don't have time for it. And I'm not sitting here trying to expect other people to be on their best behavior or have expectations as for how others should conduct themselves and whatnot. Obviously, a lot of people like to engage in that type of relationship with other people. Um, it is what it is. It's just it's not. I gotta. Many of us got to deal with discrimination, with prejudice, with racism, with sexism, you know, in our daily lives, be it our workplace, maybe it's where you attend school, might be where you worship, you know, and all of these different environments and settings that you might, you know, as you go through your week, you might encounter assholes and people to avoid. And it just seems like when it comes to boxing, the assholes are the chance that you talk to an asshole increases exponentially. And you just trying to talk about a sport. You don't see this you don't see this in basketball. You don't see this in the NFL as prevalent. But boxing, you just run into idiots. I was looking earlier, there was an article about Franchon Cruz Dezern, who has a big fight this weekend. I've been talking about the fight for 2 years plus. I think it's going to be a very good fight. And if you look at last week, I haven't seen the fight yet, but if you look at Tyson Fury and Dillian White, the highlights that I saw, that was a shit fight that people had to pay good money to see. And Dillian White went out there and didn't do shit. And I think that's a bad look when we spend our hard money to support some of this stuff and we see an effort such as that. That hurts the game, in my opinion. Conversely, this weekend, we're going to get Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano headlining at Madison Square Garden. And we'll get also on that card, not in the main event, but in one of the better fights of the night, we'll get Franchon Cruz Dezern against Ellen Sederus. Like I said, I've been waiting for this fight for a minute. I just throw it out there. Like, if you don't like women's boxing, why do you have to speak on it? So I'm reading earlier on this article on Boxing Scene, and Franchon, you know, I like Franchon. I think she's a decent person. We don't have a lot of decent people in boxing, to be honest with you. But I think I do think that Franchon Cruz Dezern is one of the better people. I've talked to her on 2 or 3 different occasions. I enjoy speaking with her. When she opens up her mouth, it's something that I actually want to hear versus a lot of the bullshit. I think she's tried to conduct herself as a professional. I think she's tried to be a good representative of boxing. And unfortunately, she's a female, and the interest in women's boxing, especially in the United States, is kind of on some bullshit. And I just don't understand. Like, if it's not your thing, it's not your thing. But why do you have to say something about it? Like, if you are watching Oscar Valdez and Shakur Stevenson this week, then just go do that. You don't have to go on the zone. You don't have to go on the zone threads and say some shit and let your dumbass opinion be. No, nobody gives a fuck. But I'm looking at this Boxing Scene article, and Franchon is just on there talking her talk, trying to talk up her career and her fight. It's a fight for undisputed. We've only had what, 6 or 7 undisputed fighters in the 4-belt era. She has a chance to be one of those, and what, the third or fourth woman, because you got Jessica McCaskill, and then you have Katie Taylor, I think is undisputed right now, and Claressa. So it's a monumental situation for Franchon Crews-Dezurn. And I think it's going to be a good fight. I really do. I go down in the comment section where the idiots always pop up, and it's only one comment on there. That tells you that's indicative of the interest in women's boxing. But this one comment says, is Franchon Crews-Dezurn a transgender or a man in drag? And again, just to follow the sport, you have to fuck with idiots in boxing. You have to. And the shit is just exhausting. And so, like I said, I don't know, man. But it's one of the things that I'm not a really violent person, but the constant, anytime a black female athlete in any sport, anytime a black female in any sport is dominant, important, or making a name for themselves, increasing in popularity, it's always a lot of white dudes out here with this shit that's a man. Maybe you don't give a fuck about, maybe you don't find black women attractive. Maybe you don't like black people. Maybe you don't understand cultures that, that people that aren't from the same culture or ethnicity as you or whatever. But the shit just pisses me off. Because like I said, Savannah Marshall, while it's not really my thing to talk about the personal appearances of athletes and people, but Savannah Marshall is not like this beauty queen. She has some qualities about her that are a bit masculine. But you never hear anybody, I never see a single comment about her being a man or transgender or a male in drag or none of that shit. Black woman, it's always the goofy ass comments. Always. So, I don't know. The shit just pisses me off. But it is what it is. But anyway, I think it's gonna be Ellen Seattle-Roos is a big ass woman. Her opponent is a big ass woman. I mean, she's probably 5'10", 5'11". I still don't see, and maybe she's just not important enough for anybody to say anything about her. But you don't see any comment about her being a man. The freaking woman who was actually trying to become a man or had done some shit to alter herself, Alejandro Jimenez, or Big Al, as Kelly Reese called her a couple of weeks ago when I spoke to her. Alejandro, what is her name? Not Alejandro. Whatever her name was, the female that Franchon fought, who had actually undergone some kind of testosterone enhancement or some whatever, hormone treatments or whatever the hell it was, and Franchon fought her. I think she ended up losing by decision, and she had to go through a bunch of shit to get her belt back. But even in that situation, the way that that woman, her appearance, her voice, the talk about her was much different than what I hear about Claressa Shields and about a Franchon Crews-Dezurn. So, like I said, you just gotta constantly encounter idiots out here just to talk about the sport. The shit is tired. Like, how do you talk about athletes and look at athletes for 15, 20, 25 years and not understand what a man looks like and what a woman who is in good shape looks like? You know, a woman who's doing freaking calisthenics on a regular basis and staying in shape, eating well, cutting weight and all that boxing entails. That woman is gonna look a lot different than the everyday woman on the street. But that does not mean that this woman is a man. But that's the idiots out here that just get in these comment sections and get on this bullshit. But anyway, I think Layla Ali, I saw some comments from Layla on the fight and her anticipation for the matchup with Layla being a bigger woman herself and competing at the heavier weights. I liked her commentary. I'm pulling for Franchon. I'm pulling for Franchon. But I gotta admit, I like Setaroos. I like what Setaroos brings to the game. And if her power is for real, and if we see her land a clean shot this week, I think it'll be a far interesting fight. I think my concern with Franchon was just she punches hard a lot, and that tires a fighter out, especially if you start missing or if you're missing a lot, if you're very inaccurate. So I was concerned about Franchon's gas tank. I don't watch Franchon on Instagram as much as I watch Setaroos. Setaroos is like a gym rat. She's constantly doing CrossFit shit. She just seems to be really fit. Now, I mean, you can be a warrior in the gym, climb up them 3 steps and get your ass whooped. You know, just because you're doing a lot of different Olympic lifts and all kind of fancy workouts and shit, you can climb them 3 steps and get worked. That can happen. But Franchon, it's like when the way that she fights, throwing everything hard, I think it gasses her out. So I was a little concerned about her gas tank. And I think if any fighter is facing a heavier handed opponent or a better puncher, an above average puncher, you got to have your fitness together, because you probably going to get caught, and you get into the later rounds of the fight, you know, your punch resistance is better if your fitness is together. So I'm just hopeful that Franchon has been able, with her being inactive as long as she's been inactive, with this fight being held up for 2.5 years, I just hope she's been able to, to go through a good camp. The main event, Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. You know, I think Serrano is a boxer puncher. It's not a lot of those in the women's game. But Serrano is the smaller fighter. I was looking at them in their clothes, and it looks like Katie has some thicker legs and just has a better, base on her from the waist down and everything. But Serrano has a little bit of size advantage, maybe a little bit of reach advantage and whatnot. I don't dislike Katie. I think what I saw Katie had a problem with was Christina Lenarditu, who Lenarditu is a freaking, she's a super aggressive fighter, pretty kind of wild. And I think that your cleaner boxers, they don't like somebody who's all that movement and energy. It looks reckless. And I think what Lenarditu does had Taylor on her heels a little bit. She got the decision. It might have been a split decision or something, but we saw Katie kind of like she had to overcome some things, in that fight to get the victory. Amanda Serrano is not that, she doesn't fight with like that kind of frenetic pace It's like I said, it's more polished boxing and punching. Um, so I think it's gonna be a pretty good fight. I'm gonna lean towards Serrano. Maybe she hurts Katie. I think Katie's kind of it seems like Katie's kind of lost a step over the last year and a half. She's been more active than a lot of the female fighters because she's been fighting in the UK. And they've, Eddie Hearn has been able to keep her working and keep her very active compared to a lot of the other fighters. I don't know if she was down a little in the last fight. I can't remember her opponent's name, but I don't know if Taylor was just kind of playing it safe, knowing that this fight was potentially out there. It's a 7-figure fight for both of these ladies, I believe. So maybe she was just playing it conservative against that opponent because it was a lower, the girl really wasn't a threat. She knew she had better business out there, and she didn't want to have any kind of injury. She didn't want to have anything that could happen in the ring that would mess up this fight. So maybe that's why she looked the way she looked at. Now, maybe she couldn't get up for that girl. I don't know. But I think it's going to be a fairly competitive fight. It won't be what we saw with Dillian White last week. We'll have two fighters in there really pushing it and going for the win. So I think it's going to be very competitive. Like I said, with not being an idiot, there is a very easy way to watch that fight, as well as whatever they do, whatever the start time is for Shakur Stevenson and Oscar Valdez over on ESPN. I don't have to come on here and say nothing ignorant and disrespectful to the women and be picking between the two fights. If I want to watch whichever one I want to have on my bigger screen and the other one I have on my device, wherever I am with it, I'll check out both fights. Shit, the men's fight, Shakur Stevenson and Oscar Valdez could be more, that fight could be more one-sided than the women's fight, to be honest with you. I'm not really sold on what Oscar Valdez is about. I saw Valdez get touched up and outclassed early by Adam Lopez. Lopez is can be a very good boxer. Sometimes he's not as consistent with his boxing, but when he's on his shit, Adam Lopez is a very skilled boxer. He might not have the sterling record to go along with that and all the achievements in the game to go with that. But Lopez boxed the shit out of Oscar Valdez when they fought. I want to say he either dropped him or he hurt him very badly. And then Valdez came back, I don't know, 4 or 5 rounds later, I think, and got the stoppage. I think that one ended in the stoppage. It was a while ago. But if you're getting pieced up by Blue Nose, Adam Lopez, I really don't see you doing all that well with the Shakur Stevenson. And the way that we just saw the Nakathila cat deal with wash up Burchell a couple of weeks ago or a few weeks ago, the way that we saw Nakathila wash Miguel Burchell, that victory that Oscar Valdez has, I'm kind of looking at that one with a little more skepticism, at least. I don't want to say it didn't age well necessarily, but I don't know, Burchell maybe was not all that special to begin with. And I think it's going to take a lot for Oscar Valdez to pull out a victory against Shakur Stevenson. I said it before, I'm still waiting to see some different things from Shakur Stevenson. But that's not a knock against him. I just don't think he's faced too many opponents that really could force him into like a plan B or to really dig too deep into his toolbox to really do any of the shit that I'm looking for to get an idea of what the kid's ceiling may or may not be. That's not a knock against him. It's just the people that he's fought, really. I mean, Joet Gonzalez, Nakathila, the other brother from the East Coast, I can't think of his name, but nobody's really been able to make, and then Jamel Herring, who was overmatched. So I'm just looking at what Shakur Stevenson might do at lightweight, at super lightweight, maybe even getting up to welterweight years from now. I'm just trying to make sure that he has an all-around game versus kind of what I've seen him do to this point. But again, I'm not so sure Oscar Valdez is the guy to make him, to force him into using any or flashing any of those skills. I mean, Valdez can punch a little bit. Can't see him boxing with Shakur. I think he's gonna have to find a way to get close, land something big, try to hurt Shakur. Maybe catch him with one of the cleaner or better punches that we haven't seen Stevenson get caught with to this point, and see if he can put the kid in a little bit of adversity. If he's unable to get that done at any point over the first half of the fight, I think shit could start getting ugly for him in the, as early as the 6th, 7th round. It could just be target practice. We already know that Shakur is very elusive, great ring IQ. Like I said, nobody's been able to speed the kid up. Nobody's been able to force him into making any mistakes. He's usually dictating the fight, whether it's offensively or whether it's with his feet. He's pretty elite. We just need him to fight somebody that we also regard as elite for me. So that's it. I'm still not, I don't even know, when I checked Monday, BoxRec didn't have all the undercard listed for the Stevenson and Valdez fight. So I can't really sit here and say I'm all that excited about the undercard because I don't know who the hell is on there at this point. I thought Keyshawn Davis might have been up, which it would be great to see him back in the ring. Maybe he's not on there. I don't know. Looking at the DAZN card, the Jesse Vargas and Liam Smith fight has been out there for several months now. I think at one point in time it was supposed to be a main event on its own. It's over there now. I think there's going to be a pretty decent fight. In terms of how competitive it is, it could be pretty decent. Vargas is usually a pretty decent fighter. Maybe not a world champion, but he's a pretty professional boxer. I'm very interested in seeing Austin Ammo Williams against Cordell Booker. That's another fight that's on that card. Ammo is kind of one of the last prospects that DAZN or Matchroom USA, he's kind of the last man standing at this point, I think. Well, you got another 2 or 3 guys from out on the West Coast that haven't messed up at this point. But I think this is a pretty good fight. We've seen Cordell Booker on several of the PBC cards over the years. He's been in there with a number of guys, pretty tough guy, boxes pretty well. I would imagine he gives Austin Williams everything he's looking for in terms of him being a credible step-up opponent. Then he fought, Ammo fought Dennis Douglin a couple years ago now, before he had the falling out with Eddie Hearn and disappeared for a while. But he took apart Dennis Douglin, who, we've seen him in there with one of the Durrell brothers, Benavides, somebody else he fought. Mike Guy, I think, beat him. I don't know. But Douglin is, I don't know. It was a good win for Austin, and I think it showed us some things. But I think Cordell Booker, if he gets past him and is able to look good doing it, I think he might be ready to take a significant step forward. Is he ready for, to be a contender? I think that would be a little premature, but just get the victory. Just get the victory. Avoid any bullshit after the fight. Hopefully the kid just had a bad moment when he had the issue. I don't know what was going on with him, really. I did talk to Ammo Williams one time. It's a live stream somewhere down on the playlist when I had an interview with him. I thought he was a good brother. I thought he said a lot of stuff that like he was ambitious about what he wanted to do with his career and how he wanted to go about his business. I don't know what happened after that, But the man put out a rap song or some shit about Eddie Hearn and was wilding for a minute. But, you know, they shook hands or whatever. They mended fences. And I think this is his second or third fight back from that falling out. And I hope that I hope he can, you know, advance his career further. Other than that, I thought it was a heavyweight this weekend. I can't remember. So anyway, that's it, man. It like I said, to come on, it's so much stuff going on in the ring. We got a lot of good up and coming fighters. It's a lot of great stories in boxing. The future for boxing in the short term could be very interesting if we can get some of these cats to fight one another. It is several guys out there that have some promise and some potential. But again, to follow the sport and to look at some of the online platforms, you gotta fuck with real idiots, man. And as I get older and older, I just don't fuck with dummies when I don't have to. Like, you go to your job and you gotta fuck with people that are stupid. You gotta do that to get your check, to go do the shit that you like to do. But to get in your leisure time and fuck with idiots, I just can't do it, man. I just can't do it. So I don't know. I don't even watch none of these boxing channels no more. I don't even I only listen to like one or two boxing podcasts. I just can't be bothered with the shit, man. I don't know how some people prefer to go on some of these channels and tell the person, the channel owner or the person talking. Some people have a great time telling that person they don't know shit, or telling them that they're a fanboy or calling them some kind of name. I got better shit to do with my time. I don't get it, but you know, that's the world that we live in. Quick thing before I get off of here. I gotta go. The Damian Lillard commercial with Ryan Garcia. I don't think Garcia really has like a real line in it. He says some shit while they putting the headgear on. But shout out to Lillard for being an advocate of boxing. You know, his tweets get a lot of attention, and you know, he's an elite athlete in his profession and in the NBA and whatnot. So, you know, Garcia ain't my favorite dude to be in a commercial, but it's dope to see a boxer with a TV ad that's getting the run that TV spot is getting. You know, being that it's the NBA playoffs right now, that's just dope to me. And I would hope to think some of these other younger fighters could find out a way to transcend boxing so that they can have, you know, that they have a better appeal, or can be a bigger draw, especially the guys who are fighting more than what we see out of Garcia, who in a year and a half or 2 years only had like one fight. So that's something to think on. Hey, let me get out of here, man. Enjoy the rest of your day.